Hey everyone, Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today I'm going to give you a good close look at the Brother PR1X free arm embroidery machine. I have to say this is one of my favourite machines, and for good reason. It's a free arm embroidery machine, and that opens up a whole world of opportunity for you if you're a keen embroiderer. You might be a real keen hobbyist, you might even be looking at starting a small business or something, and this is a good machine to take a look at because it's well priced, gives you the benefit of a free arm embroidery machine which allows you to embroider so many more things than say a typical standard home machine. And they're pretty easy to use, but not very intimidating at all. You know, some people look at multi-needle machines and go, that's not for me. And if you're one of those people, then this is definitely worth having a close look at. So again, the purpose of this video is we're going to go through a lot of the key features. We won't cover everything. I would encourage you to go to our website and have a look at all the information we have on there as well. But I'll try and give you a good run through on the main benefits of the machine and just really show you how easy it is to use. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at what actually comes standard with the machine in the box. So in the box, you would expect to have enough to get you started, and you do. So it comes standard with 2 hoops. So let me show you that, because everybody asks about what hoops come with the machine. So this one has the standard 100 by 100 or 4 by 4 hoop, which is still one of the most popular hoops of the lot, and that's what you do logos and smaller designs with. And it also comes with a nice big, oops, sorry, making a noise there, a nice big 300 by 200 hoop, which I have hooped up with some fabric and a few little things we're going to stitch on in a few moments. But this is 300 by 200, and as this machine is the replacement for the old PRS 100, this is a bigger hoop than the previous model. So that's what everybody was yelling out for, give us a bigger hoop. So now you have it, 300 by 200. They are the 2 standard hoops that come in the box, but there are so many extra hoop options available for this machine, both genuine Brother hoops and also aftermarket hoops. You'll be able to embroider anything because there's a hoop for every job. It also comes with 2 arms, hoop attaching arms. I'll grab these. So this is the A arm. This is standard in the box, and we'll put that on in a moment. So I'm just going to leave that sitting here for me just until I'm ready for it. It does also come with a B arm as standard. Now that I mentioned before, lots of extra hoops available for all sorts of different applications, and the B arm is used for some of those hoops, but that is included in the machine. It also comes with the hoop template guides for both those hoops, so they're kind of handy for design placement. You'll find them useful at some point, I'm sure. There's also a really good manual. Actually, in fact, there's quite a bit of paperwork with the machine. You've got a full design guide, so this has all the colour images of all the designs that are built into the machine, and there are 495 and built-in embroidery designs, and there's quilting designs, there's loads of fonts, there's creative fonts and artistic fonts, and all that information is in this guide, so that's cool. You also get the operation manual, so that's the full operation manual, well written, easy to follow, and of course we also have a quick start guide. Everybody loves a quick start guide, so that'll get you going up nice and quickly. And there's a list of all the standard accessories and other optional attachments that are available for the machine, so that's all included in there. There is also a accessory kit, so that's got your spare bobbins, needles, the screwdrivers that you need for changing needles, etc., and everything you need to get up and running. There's also a USB cable, and that allows you to direct connect to the machine to your computer, so you can easily transfer designs to and from the computer, but you can also use just a standard USB stick. We'll show you that in a little while. So that is everything that comes standard with the machine. We have the machine sitting on the optional Brother PR stand, which is a solid metal stand, and it's a really, really good product. It's on wheels, very easily mobile around your sewing room. But I will point out right now, you don't need to have this stand. If you have a good, a solid table or, a bench or something that's not going to sort of wobble around too much, the machine will just be as equally at home on that as it is on this stand. It's entirely up to you. But if you want portability, I do recommend these stands. They're excellent. And they can be adjusted to the height that suits your particular needs, and that's a bit of an advantage. So that's what comes in the box. I guess we should have a look at the anatomy of the machine and how you actually thread it. So as I mentioned earlier, it does come with these arms. So the first thing perhaps I'm going to do is talk about this as part of the overall anatomy of the machine. Being a tubular or a free arm machine, we have 2 points of contact where the hoop actually contacts or loads onto the machine, and that's done by these arms. So when you get this, there'll be 2 screws that actually hold this arm onto the driver on the machine. So I'll just take these out of here, and the good thing about this is it only goes on one way. You really can't get it wrong. Hopefully the camera will pick this up, but on the back of the machine here on this arm right here, there's a mounting plate, and that's where this mounts onto, and there are little locating holes or pins that go into the little holes here. You'll find that when you pop this in, it will make sense because there is only one position that it can actually go onto. And once that's in position, just put the 2 screws in. The one on your right is kind of fixed. You very rarely have to undo that. And then over on the left-hand side, there is another one. And that's an important one because that has to be loosened and tightened whenever you're changing to different hoops. So you'll see that when we put a different hoop on. And once that's done, let's have a look at the rest of the machine. You'll notice the machine comes with a 4-spool thread stand on top. Now this is not a 4-needle machine, it's a single needle machine, and that's one of the really the nice things about this is that it's a very easy machine to get your head around. If you're a little bit skeptical of going to a multi-needle machine, feel a little bit overawed or intimidated by that, then this gives you a lot of the benefits of those multi-needle machines, but keeps it simple and less confronting for you. But you can put 4 threads up on here, and we're going to thread the machine in a minute. You'll see why that's an advantage. You've got a bobbin winder on the left-hand side, so the bobbin winder is built into the machine. It's not a separate unit, but it's nice and easy to get to and easy to use. You've got your threading path. There's the thread tension, and up and down through the normal threading path there, which you'll see in a moment. And there's a needle threader built into these machines. So still, that brother needle threader on their PR series machines has been around for 20 years, and it's still the same, still works a treat. Absolutely brilliant threading device. The machine has, as I mentioned, a free arm, and that's what makes the difference for being able to embroider tubular items, things like pants legs, shirts, little babies' onesies, things that you do struggle a bit on a home style machine. It also means that we can do caps correctly with the right attachments. We can do beanies, we can do anything that is tubular or difficult to embroider, sports bags, all sorts of things. It has an industrial bobbin system, so the bobbin case goes in here. I'll just quickly take that out and show you because we're going to thread that a little later, but that's your bobbin case, same as we get on the industrial type machines. And this machine really is kind of like a semi-industrial machine, and that clicks in there like that. And that means that in the main, when you're embroidering, if you need to change a bobbin, you don't need to take the hoop off the machine. You can usually access the bobbin from under the hoop, and that's a bit of a time saver for sure. That's basically the anatomy of the machine. There is a hand wheel on the back, so we can actually turn the main shaft of the machine, turn the needles, get them moving by hand. You don't often have to do that because it's all automatic, but there is a hand wheel on there. And really that's about it. So I think the first thing we might do now is actually go a quick run through on the screen and show you, not everything yet, but just basically what is included on the screen. Now there is a handy little stylus that comes with the machine, and that's in the toolkit, and it also has a nice little home at the back of the control panel here. And when you switch the machine on, it will come up with a screensaver. You just touch the screen and it will then go into the main operating screen, as you can see here. Again, I'm not going to dig too deep just yet, but it's just to give you an idea of what's in there. There's different menus, so different design menus, and if you click on the menu again, you'll see that it does give you a nice thumbnail view down here, and if we scroll down, you'll see there's 2 pages with designs on that particular menu. Now I can hit the return button and go back, and you'll see there's another few designs there. There are 495 designs built into the machine, so it's got a lot of designs. Uses the standard Brother PES format or the commercial DST format, which are the most popular in the world as far as embroidery formats go. And And of course there are millions of designs available. You may even have digitizing software and you do your own designs. This machine will handle whatever designs you want to throw at it, as long as they're digitized well and they're good quality. That goes with any machine really. So let's hit the return button. Another design menu. So this has 6 pages of designs in it. Scroll down. We'll go back, just quickly go to this one here. Another 5 pages of designs there. Built-in quilting designs, so these are kind of cool, and they're quite large, so they really do max out the size of the hoop. And when I show you the new crosshair laser 2-point positioning function, it'll make sense that connecting your bigger quilt blocks when you rehoop your fabric is actually now a whole lot easier. So having these 6 pages of lovely quilt designs is going to be a huge advantage for you. So let's get back out of there. It's got some creative and artistic fonts as well, and these are quite large, so a good little range there, and won't get. And you can view all this on the. In fact, you can download the design guide if you want and see everything that's in the machine as a standard. A lot of built-in fonts. So I think there are 33 fonts. 33. So 3 pages there. And they are all built in, really beautiful fonts, and you've got loads of options to customize those and put them on circles and arcs and different directions and multi-line text. And it's just quite extraordinary to have all that built into a machine. So return again there. We've got loads of different shapes and border functions that we can customize, make badges and all sorts of things there. So again, it would take me all day to go through everything on this guy, so just trust me, there's a lot in this machine. And of course there's some lovely, beautiful monograms, great for towels and doing special gift ideas there. So that's all built into the machine. This little button here is the settings pages, and that gives you options to change some of the basic settings, you know, whether you see the name of the color or the thread color number. And it's got a few different thread palettes in there. You can change from millimeters to inches if you prefer to work in inches. It also has an auto basting function. So if you have a towel that you want to embroider and you don't want to hoop it, you can actually hit an auto baste function and it will baste the towel to the backing for you. And you can change the distance of the basting stitch around the perimeter. It also has a DST setting, and that is just to do with jump stitches, etc. So you won't ever need to really touch that. Very rarely has that become an option or a thing you need to consider. Second page, you can change the screen background colors, the size of the thumbnails, a little bit of customization there. And then we go into upper and bobbin thread. So it has a thread sensor. It does sense when the thread's broken, and it does sense when the bobbin thread has run out. So you can turn that on or off if you wish, but basically leave it on pretty much all the time. You can change the volume of the speaker. You can set it to eco mode, so the screensaver will cut in, or it will go, just basically save you power. Not that these use a lot of power, to be honest. They're really, really eco-friendly anyway. And it can come up with a lovely opening screen. We've got language options there. We're in English. You can turn the light on and off the machine, and you can even adjust the display brightness on the screen itself. And then we have the embroidery crosshair positioning laser. So we've got that turned on, and I'm going to leave that on. And then this screen will tell you how many stitches your machine has done, both a total stitch count and also between service intervals. So that's really handy. We use that a lot when we're servicing, and we reset that service count every time we do a service, and it tells you how many hours of actual stitching the machine has done. So it's like your speedometer or odometer on a car, and it's quite handy. So you've got that control panel there. We also have a button that actually pushes the hoop out and in. So if you do a lot of applique work and you do like to take the hoop out to cut things or put another piece of fabric down, you can forcibly tell it to push the hoop out in the middle of a design, and then it'll take it back in once you've did whatever you wanted to do in terms of applique or that type of thing. There is a beautiful help screen here. There's an operation guide built in with all amazing bits of information that will help you with the machine. And there's also the option of going to videos, and it uses a QR code. Just point your phone at that and that'll take you to, or point your camera phone to that, and that'll take you to the web page with all the different video resources that are available for this machine. And then of course the last button there is the home button. That will just take you back to this screen. It has the ability to save and open designs that are in the memory of the machine. It also reads a USB stick, and it will also connect to a computer. So there are your three options for getting to those applications. The red button will turn green when we're in sewing mode, and when that's green, you know if you hit it, it's going to start sewing. The scissor button is the trimming function, so that will trim the thread for you, and you can force that at any time you want to do a trim, but it will also trim automatically during the design. That's what it's programmed to do. And here we have the needle threader button. On the side is the USB ports, and that is pretty much it. I think what we'll do now is thread the machine. So an integral part of threading any machine is bobbins. So we're going to touch on that first and talk about pre-wound bobbins, or do you wind your own bobbin? This machine has a particularly good, easy to use bobbin winder, and if you are happy to wind your own bobbins, that is always the most economical way to do it. This will do a good job at that. So before I wind a bobbin though, I will mention that it's an L-style bobbin. So L-style is a standard commercial bobbin size. We have available both the plastic-sided L-style bobbin, and it's a lovely fine bobbin thread, so you do get good yield out of it. And we also do still have the sideless bobbins, and they work quite well on this machine. So you can go sideless or plastic-sided, and generally speaking, most people will use white bobbins for pretty much 90% of everything you do, but it's handy to have some black as well, because on darker colours it's quite useful to have black bobbin threads, obviously. But if you prefer to wind your own, you can, and it's a very simple process. The bobbin winder unit is just here. There's a little engaging mechanism there. It does come with metal bobbins, and here's the thing I'll just mention quickly. Obviously, if you're just using a standard bobbin fill, which we have in the 5,000 metre size, it's a very economical way to do it. But sometimes you may want to wind the same colour bobbin as you're using. Maybe you're making lace, or you just want the same coloured front and back. It might be monogramming, and you just don't want to see white bobbin thread on the back of a towel with red thread on top. You know, those sorts of things can happen and can look kind of better to match that colour. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to wind this bobbin using the red thread that we have up on the thread stand here. Now I will point out, hopefully the thread stand's in view, these little white parts here are simply designed to hold and clamp the coloured threads that we actually have on the spool here. We don't run the thread through these sections when we're winding bobbins or running the machine. But in order to wind the bobbin, I'm just going to put the bobbin on the spindle, and we just pop that on there, and it will rotate around and lock in. So that's now locked into place. My red thread, and I'm going to show you this, hopefully my camera girl can see that clear enough. Yep. So I have the thread coming up through the front of this little guide here at number 1 and through the back of number 2. And it doesn't really matter which way you've gone there. It really isn't going to matter whether you're front to back, back to front, doesn't matter. But these white clamps are here to hold the thread. So if I pull the thread down into there and up to there, it will cut that thread off. And you can see that red thread is now firmly held in position until I next need it, which is pretty good. So I'm going to wind a bobbin. I'm going to take the red thread out of the white area. Now there is a little pre-tension clamping device up here, and there is a little guide on top, shows you how to do it. And it basically goes around the guide and then through this little hole here. And then we come down to our bobbin and we wind it around the bobbin like so. And there is a little cutter, you'll see that right there. Push the thread into that. I'm standing at a terrible angle here, but I'll just try and get that in there for you. There we go. And you can cut the thread into there. And that's now clamped the thread, and it won't come loose when we start winding the bobbin. All I've got to do now to wind the bobbin is engage the little lever there. And now you'll see on the screen, you now have a start option on screen, and you've got the plus minus for the speed of the bobbin winding. I generally recommend wind the bobbin at either half or maybe 3/4. It just gives you a more consistent wind. Hit the start button and you'll now see the bobbin is in fact winding. And it will stop when it's full. Sometimes you don't particularly need it full, and so you can stop it by hitting the stop button on the screen. In this case, I don't need to fill it, so I'm going to stop it there. I've now put some red thread on that bobbin, that may be all I need. And all I've got to do now is remove the bobbin, but first I must just disengage there if I've stopped it midstream, and then the bobbin will come off. And I can now take that red thread back around there and cut that back into the little clamping device there and pull that through, and I've now wound my bobbin. So nice and simple. Wind your own bobbins if you feel you've got time, but if you, like most people, you like the convenience of pre-wounds, you can also do that. So that's, let's move on and let's now have a look at the threading of the actual machine. So we've wound a bobbin. I'll quickly show you how to load it. It's really, really simple. So I'll take the bobbin case out of the machine, just open the little latch, pull the bobbin case out. This has got a almost empty bobbin in there, so we'll take that pre-wound bobbin out. And I'll take the one of the pre-wound plastic-sided bobbins, and it simply goes in so as that the bobbin, as you're looking at it from this direction, pulls clockwise, or rotates clockwise, and you just simply put the bobbin thread under the little spring, and that's it. Generally speaking, I like to leave about 2 or 3 inches of thread hanging down. Make sure you don't get the thread caught between the latch. Hold the latch open a little bit, pop the bobbin case in, let it go, let the latch go before it goes in all the way, and push it in and hear the click. And that's the surest way to make sure your bobbin is threaded correctly. Really simple to change. And as I said, one of the benefits is you can actually access this bobbin without having to take your hoop off the machine. So if you've been using a home machine, you'll know what I mean there. So that's an advantage. Leave that bobbin thread just sitting there. It can tuck into that little cover there, and then pop that cover up and close it. So threading the needle, it's really simple too. So I'm going to use the red thread to thread the machine. Now I'm going to let you in a little secret. The book actually will say when you're threading the needle, don't put it through number 2 here. Just go straight from number 1 down to 2 there. But you know what, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to make any difference. So I generally leave it up in number 2, and we then come down to the second number 2 just here. There's a little hole there, just pop the thread through there. Pull that through, and most importantly, there's a couple of little springs you've got to get under, so we do have to push that thread in under that spring right there. Number 3 is around the tension. Now this is a spinning tension, and one of the advantages on this is that the disc that the thread goes around, it goes around the disc, not through the disc. So it's a very smooth, consistent tension, and it's that disc that spins there, and you'll see it when I wrap this around, that detects whether the thread's broken. So if it's not spinning, the machine says, oh, something's wrong, thread's broken, I'm not stitching, or something's gone wrong, and the machine will stop. So we take the thread from around the right side all the way around, and I'll just lift this and pull that, and you can see that little tension wheel spinning. And as long as that's spinning, you've got it threaded correctly. And then you come under this little guide here, and then down to number 4 on the bottom here, then back up, and then into number 5. And I just twist the thread and put that through the take-up hole. Some people say to me, oh, you know, why is it not a slot there? These machines run a bit faster than a lot of machines, so having a hole in the take-up lever means it's less likely the thread's going to come out, and that can be disastrous if you don't have thread in the take-up lever. So it comes back down the slot there, and then down through number 6. Again, I just basically twist a little bit of thread, pop that in, grab your tweezers underneath there, and then grab that and pull the thread through. I've got thread everywhere there, you won't do the same as me. And now we've got to get the thread into the little threader guide. There is a tiny gadget that comes with the machine, and it makes it easy for getting the thread up into the guide on the needle bar. You just hook it into that little hook on the gadget there and pop it in behind the bar. And here's the magic of the needle threader. All you've got to do is hit the needle threader button. The needle threader will come down and engage, and you just take the thread from the right of the fork that is over the needle up into that little clamp just here, cut it off into the white clamp here, and hit the needle threader button, and your needle is threaded. So you don't even have to look at the eye of the needle, and I've got to tell you, that's great. Certainly suits my eyesight. So that's threading the machine, but if you're changing to a different color, it's really simple. Just simply cut the thread. In fact, I'll do it. We just pull the red thread up into there. Now I might want the blue thread, so I'm going to take the blue thread now, grab my red thread, And you can tie just the simplest of simple knots. It doesn't need to be anything complex. That's it, nice and tight. Pull the thread out of the needle eye, and now just gently pull until the blue thread comes through. Hit the needle threader button, thread, do what I did before with the red thread, cut that, and now the needle is threaded. I didn't even go close to the needle to actually thread it. It does it all for me. So that's a really, really excellent feature. I mentioned earlier that there's two hoops that come standard with it, and they are tubular hoops. So let's have a look at that and just expand on that a little bit. This is the standard 100 by 100 hoop, very, very popular hoop. And again, so the part of the hoop that actually goes on top of the fabric has got the attachment arms that attach to the frame holder here, and then the outer ring goes underneath. And that's what makes it tubular, and that's what makes it so much easier to embroider difficult items like little shirts and anywhere where you've got to sort of get the fabric out of the way on a home machine. You don't need to on these machines. Sports bags and beanies and things that you only dream of embroidering with a home machine. So standard 100 by 100 hoop is in the box, as is the big 300 by 200 hoop, and this is also a tubular hoop. And we've got that all marked up with some lines that we're going to demonstrate in a moment. I do want to point out probably one of the most the beneficial accessories that Brother have for this machine, and I do recommend this with all the PR models, to be honest, and that is the tubular frame table. And this is a gadget that actually just simply mounts onto the arm of the machine, and I do recommend it whenever you're using the large hoops or any of the aftermarket hoops where you might be, a bit of weight in the hoop, or the item you're embroidering is heavy. It's a huge advantage, this product. And it just simply slips on to the mechanism like that and locks into place, and that then extends. So that means that if I'm running a big tubular item or a big hoop, I've got the ability to support the weight of whatever's in the machine without it sort of pushing down and sagging on the stitching area. If you've got a PR machine, you don't have that, worth having. And if you're looking at getting one of these, definitely talk to us about that product as well. So now that that's in position, I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to show you how easy these hoops are to put on the machine. The arm mechanism here is adjustable, so I've got it currently set out at the largest point, which is for the large 300 by 200 hoop. There are two screws, one there and one there. We loosen those and we can move that arm in and out to suit the hoop we're about to use. And when you do that, that then tells the machine what hoop you're using, and that only applies to the genuine Brother hoops. Will it know exactly what hoop you're using? So that is positioned in the right location for me, and I want this to sit here like so. And you'll see that we've got these metal brackets here, little springs there on both sides, and the hoop goes under those springs. Now I've got fabric in there too, which is making it a little bit less visible, but there we go. So we just push those into place and it locks into place, and that hoop is now perfectly positioned. And again, because we've got this table on here, the hoop sits beautifully and flat, and it just won't sort of bounce around or anything like that. And you could imagine having a big heavy bathrobe or a towel or a jacket back in here, that becomes a godsend. So definitely worth having. And that leads us on to the next discussion, which is this amazing new design placement tool on the PR1X, and that's the crosshair laser guide system, and it's a 2-point system. So let's take a look at it. So now I'm going to show you how to use the 2-point laser system in its simplest form. So let's switch over to the screen and I'll talk you through it. I'm going to use a simple definable shape to show you how this actually works. So I'm just going to go into the shapes menu and I'm going to choose the heart stitch, and I'm just going to take a simple outline heart stitch. Next is hit set, and you can see right now the design is automatically centered in the hoop. If I hit the go button, that's where it's going to stitch, right in the middle of the hoop. So I go to embroidery mode, and we now have this little button here, which is the 2-point function. So if I click on that, you'll notice that also on the fabric, the crosshair is now illuminated. On screen now we have a picture of the design that we're about to embroider, And we've got all these little sort of marks around here, and these allow us to choose the reference point of that we want to work with. In my case, if you look at on the fabric, I want the center of my heart, that's the center of the design right there, and I want it to stitch on that angle. So in other words, the top of the heart will be heading up this way, but that's the axis that I want it to stitch on. And you might do this frequently when you're hooping up multiple designs on a project. You sometimes can't hoop the way you want to, and you'd prefer to move the design rather than have to re-hoop the fabric, which is what you would have to do on most machines to get this sort of alignment. And you don't have to on this, obviously. So I'm going to choose the center point of the heart as my reference point, and that, you can see there, that little blue dot, that means I have chosen it. If I was to choose this option here, you'll see the blue dot moves to the bottom center of the design. That's not a reference point I'm using on the fabric, so I'm going to go back to the center. Once I've chosen that first reference point, then hit next, and now we can choose our second reference point. Right now it's sitting on a right-hand reference point, and that's not what I want. I want the design to stitch vertically from the center. So I'm going to click the vertical option because that's the line that I want to mark up here. And nice and simple, just hit next. And now it's just a case of moving our crosshair, a laser crosshair, to the first point, which was the center of the design. So let's just now move this up, and you can go a bit faster if you want by clicking this button. There's 3 speeds for moving the hoop. And we're going to come across to there and then up a little bit further. And when I get close, I'll go down to the slower movement option. And you can even go really slow if you like by clicking the first little arrow. And that's perfectly in the center. Doesn't matter that the crosshair is not the same way. It's about aiming for that center point that we've got marked on the fabric. And once we've got that there, just click next. My next point is really anywhere on this line. The further I go from the center point, the more accurate I'm going to be. So all I've got to do now is move that crosshair across to the center of that, or the center of that line. And that's pretty good right there. So my first point was there, my second point's there, and if I hit set, my heart has now moved on screen up to this position here. I don't need the crosshair turned on anymore because I know that is in the right location. And if I hit the go button now, I'm going to stitch that heart exactly where I want it. So let's see what happens. So to start stitching this, I just hit the lock button and then the green button, and it will now stitch that heart out. And you will see that it is exactly where I wanted it to be. So as you can see, the points are perfect, it's the perfect angle, and I didn't have to hoop my fabric square in the hoop. Now that's one way you could reference a design, but let's just say I wanted to stitch on a line, maybe the top of a pocket, for example, something like this, where I want to just put some text in. And unless you hoop perfectly square, you only need to be 1 millimeter out and your text will look wrong. So let's just go back into our screen here. We could just hit the return button now, and I could hit the delete button to get rid of the heart that I just stitched. Sometimes it's easier just to go and hit the home button and get back to this screen. But I'm going to choose a simple font, and I'm just going to put a few little bits of text. I'll just put in, we'll just type in test, that'll do us. And this is a standard font. Now the beauty thing about these fonts is you've got large, medium and small. So that's the large font, which is quite large, and these can be resized later, but I just want a small bit of text, so I'm just going to go down to the medium size, and now I'm going to type in an E, and then an S, and then a T, and so there's my line of text that I want to write. So we just click set, and embroidery, and I want it to stitch along this line, and that's the center of the text that I want to use, and I want this line to be basically the center of the text itself, or I could make it the bottom of the text, the line of text. So all I've got to do is hit the 2-point function. The crosshair will turn on. Now, instead of using the center of the design, which is there, I want to use the baseline of the design. And so you'll see the little dot there has gone to the baseline. And if we hit next, and I'm going, and it wouldn't matter if you go left or right here, I'm going to go right. So we go next, and now what we do is go a bit faster than that, take this cursor down to right there on the center, and if I have it on the actual line itself, that means the word will stitch pretty much right just above that line. And my next option will be to come across here and now just take that up on the angle that I need it. And as long as I'm on that line, we're good. Hit set. And you can see the word test now on screen has moved to its new position that we've told it where to stitch. And again, if I hit the lock button and start, it will now stitch that little line of text. So there you go, that's stitched out exactly on the angle that I wanted it to, and it's exactly centered on that line. It's so much easier than having to re-hoop your fabric. Now, the final little thing I'm going to do in this particular example is look at the 2 dots that I have up further. So I'm just going to move that line of, in fact, I'll return out of that design, and I'll bring the hoop forward a bit. Whoops, go back into embroidery mode there. In fact, I'm going to delete that file and we'll add the words back in. So I'll go back into my text and we'll type that in so I've got it back into the same sort of straight line that we started with. Test, set. So that's set to go into the center of the hoop. And if I now move up to, I'll go back into embroidery mode here. If I now move that up, we see we've got these 2 dots. And sometimes it's better just to have a couple of dots on your screen, on your fabric, rather than having lines everywhere, because we do get a bit paranoid about those wash away and fade away pens sometimes not coming out entirely. Now let's just imagine that that dot represents the bottom left of my text, and that's the angle I want it to stitch on. So all I've got to do is go to my screen, my laser function here, click OK, and the reference point I know is that I want the bottom left of my text to be my start point. And so I click that button there, that little circle goes to the bottom left of my text file, and that's where my bottom left is. So the word will stitch from there and down on that angle. So we go next, and I know it's the baseline that I'm going to work with here. So that's already selected, hit next, and all I've got to do, we'll go to fast move here, come across to there, we'll go to slow move now and just get that perfectly positioned. That's the bottom left of my text. Next, and go a little bit faster than that. And that is the angle that I want it to stitch on, right there. And so we hit set, and it's good to go. Just you notice the word has moved ever so slightly. Lock, and so there's multiple ways you can actually set your angles. So there you go, that was our bottom left of the text. It's on the perfect angle, and whatever angle you set it's going to stitch at, and it's just a truly fantastic feature and an absolute game changer for design placement. Let's take a look at what other amazing features are built into this machine. I think what we'll do now is have a look at the hooping a tubular item on this machine, because it's such a game changer for you. And best way to show you that is I've taken a really simple little drawstring bag. It's a tube. It's obviously seamed all around here, and I've hooped it into my 100 by 100 hoop. I've marked exactly the center of my design that I'm going to stitch, and you can see if you have a home style machine or a flat machine, which is what a home style machine is, I couldn't hoop this and I wouldn't be able to stitch it. I'd have to undo one of the side seams or do something like that. Not a problem on the PR1X. I'm also going to point out that I've hooped this, in fact I did it twice and didn't get it right, and it's not perfectly aligned. I haven't got this cross in the middle here perfectly squared in the hoop. And that's another great reason to have a machine with the 2-point laser function like this one, because it doesn't matter. You'll be able to get it perfect without having to rehoop it. And we've all done that. If you're an embroiderer, we've done it. We've rehooped an item several times only to still be not satisfied with the way we've hooped it. I've got a standard stabilizer back in there. It's just a simple cheap bag. And I'm going to load this hoop onto the machine. Now the first thing I'll need to do is, the previous hoop was the 300 by 200 hoop, and I need to make it for the 100 by 100. So all I've got to do is undo the 2 screws here and slide this in until it's into the second last position on the way in, and then nip those screws back up. And now all I've got to do is basically pop the tube of the item over the free arm. So we just slide this in, making sure that the handles don't get caught under anything. Good idea to make sure your bobbin's all threaded and full when you do this, because this is one of the times when it's a little bit harder to get to your bobbin. I can still tuck this out of the way under here and get to it, but just easier to make sure it's full at the start. And then make sure that your handles are not caught under the hoop. So we have our hoop in position. I'm going to now quickly create a design on here. Again, this is a nice little feature. Hopefully the screen's going to be quite visible there for you. I'm going to use one of the monogramming functions, and I'm also going to use one of the lovely little borders that's in here. So if we go to that button there, scroll down to page, whoops, that's the page I want that little border there, number 23. Set, and now I want to add some monogramming. So we click add, go to my monogram function. I'm going to take this shaped monogram because that will work beautifully in this particular design, and I'm going to just put ABC in. So first option is going to be the left hand side of the monogram, so I'll just type in A, and I want to make it a medium size, and then I go to the middle section and I want B, and then I want the right section and I want C. You can put in whatever you like, but that's what I'm going to do. Hit set, and I've now created the design that I want to stitch. And I can tell that design's 95 millimeters high. This is a 100 mil hoop, so that's the actual embroidery area, so I know that's going to fit. Not a lot of wiggle room, but it'll be enough. And it's 77 high, 95 wide, and that's going to be fantastic. So all I've got to do now is go to embroidery mode. So I just click the 2-point positioning function. It's still set on the bottom center of the design, but I know my reference point is the center of the design, and I can see I'm just a little bit out, so I just click the center. You notice the little blue dot goes to the center of the design, and we go next, and my reference point for getting the angle, I can use this side line where it's actually selected right there, or I could use vertical, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to leave it where it is, and we just go next. Now my first option is to take it to the center of the crosshair that I've got on my fabric. That's perfect. We go next, and now we just make sure we're just in the center of that line. That's perfect, and get set. And I know my design is positioned perfectly now for me to stitch it out, and I don't have to rehoop it. So it's just such a great feature. You'll use it all the time. And what am I going to do? I've got red here. Red's fine. I'll just continue on with the red theme, and I just need to hit the stitch button and let it do its thing. Well, that's finished, and as you can see, I didn't have to pull anything apart on the bag. I can now just remove the hoop and tear away my backing. Hit that with a hot iron or just a bit of heat to get rid of the marking pen, and the little monogram is finished. So the tubular or free arm aspect of this machine is just, again, one of the main features why you would look at a machine like this if you want to expand your embroidery capability. And in just finishing on that whole free arm side of it, I'm going to actually show you another typical example that a lot of people do in personalizing with this style of machine, and that is sports bags and things that are kind of, you know, challenging to do at the best of times. And I'm actually using one of the magnetic hoops here, and that is, again, an advantage on this style of machine. And I will just point out there's a big range of these aftermarket products. We have tons and tons of different options. This particular hoop gives you a it's a 155 by 205, so that's 175 millimeters by 125. And if I wanted to pop this in, it's exactly the same. I've just got a tube on the end of it. It's the open bag there, and I would pop that over the free arm, just like I did the white bag that I've just used. I would, however, suggest if you're going to delve into the wonderful world of magnetic frames, it's definitely worth having this table, because in fact it's needed to run that type of heavy bags. So look, lots and lots of different options available. Let me pop that over there. There's a whole raft of different Brother magnetic frames as well. There's cap frames, there's tubular frames, there's small frames, compact frames. It's just a matter of having a look at the website. In fact, if you go to this product on the website, on our website, you'll see all the compatible types of items that are available with it. Most importantly, it's a reliable workhorse of a machine, and it's ideal for a home embroidery environment or that small home hobby business kind of thing. If you have any questions on it, and I'm sure you do have, just please get in touch with us by the normal means, phone, email, messenger, whatever you want to use, and we'll certainly help you move up into a fantastic machine like this. You know, it will change your embroidery world, that's for sure. So hope you found this little bit of information helpful. I'm sure I haven't covered everything. I could spend all day talking about it, but it is a great machine. Oh, and by the way, it does carry the full Brother warranty as well, and I think that's now a 5-year warranty in Australia. So you've got great peace of mind there, and it's a Brother, so you know it's going to work. There's no question about that. And you've got the full support of Echidna throughout the life of the machines. So that's the PR1X embroidery machine from Brother. Hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and happy embroidering.